Hey everybody, it's People with the Corrections Unfiltered, where corrections meets conversation. I have been on LinkedIn quite a bit, and there's a person who shows up in my feed, and that person is Justin Hall. And Justin is the jailer in Nelson County, Kentucky. And the thing that really captures my attention, he is always celebrating the accomplishments and achievements of his staff, of his inmate population, and how much he also gives back to the community. So we thought we'd have Justin on here to talk to him. We got this a cast of characters on tonight. We have Rick Harnes. We've got Charlie Bueno, and we have a special guest host, Miss Sandra Hijar. How are you, ma'am?
Hello.
And she's filling in tonight. And so, look, Justin, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of your background and talk to us about how you got in the position you're in?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I started my career in 2006. As soon as I started 21, I went to college for information technology, and once I got done with that, I realized that computers don't like to talk as much as I do, and I always wanted to get into law enforcement. So I decided, what better way than to hop into law enforcement than to get my foot in the door in corrections, and that foot in the door turned into my entire life, is what it did. I started in the next county over from Nelson County, which is Hardin County, which has the fourth largest jail in the state of Kentucky. We had 648 beds. And I started out as a control room deputy. I started out just working in the control room. I knew nobody. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I remember the first day of walking through those doors, I was like, what did I decide to get myself into? And it turned into a passion. It's kind of, once you get into this line of work, it really turns into something that just gets ingrained in you. I started out like I said, in the control room, then I went to booking, and then I got promoted into a supervisory role a year and a half into my career, which you can imagine a 23-year-old getting promoted, and there's people there that's in their 40s and 50s, so I had a big challenge of, learning how to adapt to that. And I ended up going all the way up to third in command at the Hardin County Detention Center. And I went after that. I went and worked under the previous jailer until election time came up, and I went and I ran for jailer and ended up winning by 70% of the vote. So it's been this November will be my 19th year in this business, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I got a lot less hair and a lot more gray than what I had starting, but the ability to actually be able to not only see what happens inside of the jail, because nobody ever really gets to see what good or bad goes on inside there, and plus, everything that we do in the corrections field, it is a service to everybody in the community. And so, if we're able to return somebody back that doesn't go back into jail, or if we're able to keep that person out of the community so they don't hurt somebody else, that is a big thing. I always tell everybody, can you imagine if every jail or prison was to open their doors immediately and just let everybody go out into the community? I mean, it would be utter chaos. And so we're kind of the gatekeepers of that. When somebody gets arrested, and nothing against any other profession or anything, I have the utmost respect for everybody in law enforcement, but the news headline when somebody gets arrested for a bad crime, the police, after they arrest them, they may interview them, they may have them in their custody for an hour or two. We have them for years at times, and so it takes a special person cut from a special cloth to be able to do this line of work that we've all worked in. And so that's something I'm very, very proud of.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Justin, I'm really curious. What does your population at your jail look like?
Oh, my population at the jail, and just to tell you how, I'll give you a little back brief real quick of just Kentucky, because I know there's people that live all over that watch this. And what makes Kentucky unique is that most counties in different states, the sheriff actually runs the county jail. In Kentucky, we're a little bit different, and this goes back to our second, third Constitution in Kentucky. Basically, there was corruption and stuff, back in the 1800s and whatnot. So what they decided to do was they decided to split the office of sheriff into basically an office of jailer. So you have an elected jailer, which is a constitutional officer. We have full arrest authority and everything else within the county. And then you have your sheriff as well. So they split that up. So that way the same people doing the catching's not the same people doing the holding. And in Kentucky, every county has an elected jailer. There's 74 jails in the state of Kentucky. And for the smaller counties, some of them don't have a population big enough to support a jail, so they will contract with a neighboring county, and basically the elected jailer at that point becomes a officer of the court, transports for court and stuff like that, and they also help out in the jails as well. So that's something that makes us very unique. Our population in our county is 47,000 with the last census that we had, and we average normally about 100 to 130% over capacity because our jail was built in 1987. And, we're working with our physical court, which is basically our local government body, and building a new one. That's what we've been in the process of working on. But we do have minimum all the way up to maximum security at our jail, even as small as it is. And I have everything from child support all the way up to capital murder, inside of our jail based on it. And it is a constant changing environment. A lot of people don't see that inside
Hmm.
of what goes on inside of a jail or even the prisons that you all operated and worked on. And that's part of the reason why, like what Pete said, that I try to really be vocal on social media, because if we don't speak up for what we do and the good that we do, nobody else is going to do it. The only thing in a correctional facility that makes headlines is if, unfortunately, somebody passes or if somebody escapes.
Hmm.
They won't, there's not news articles, of, okay, the Nelson County Correctional Center saved 2 people from overdosing, or they saved somebody from committing suicide, or somebody attempted to escape, but they stopped it. The only thing that makes it is bad press. And,
Hmm.
I understand that because clicks are headlines. I mean, I get that to some extent, but I kinda did it as my duty is to kinda show people just a glimpse of what we do, and again, I try to do the positive that we do inside the jail, but you all know just as well as I do, it's not rainbows every single day inside of a jail. I mean, it's not. In a prison, it's not. I mean, there's a lot of good that happens, but there's also just as equal amount of bad that happens every day, and so I really try to bridge that gap with our community. I mean, it's a struggle. I try to do stuff to kind of upbeat for the community, like our work program and stuff. They go out and work every day. Our low risk people. I try to have like food potlucks for them and stuff like that. And there's some people that are like, "Well, why in the world are you doing that for them? They don't deserve that. They don't deserve anything. Give them bread and water." Well, you've never worked in this line of work. Those are the people where I can get them in programs and try to get them help and try to make them a good member. Now, if somebody's charged with and convicted of a sex offense or a violent crime, they're beyond my fixing. That they go on to prison and stuff like that. But I really try that demographic, that minimum security people that have a history of substance abuse. That's the demographic inside my jail that I really try to circle the wagons on and really try to help. And that's where I focus the majority of my energy, because they're going to be out. They are going to be in our community, and the success rate, our recidivism rate at our jail has dropped 20% the last 3 years. We added RT, anger management, parenting. We've added domestic abuse classes. We've added all this stuff. I've added a welding class that I'm hopefully getting ready to get restart again, where people actually had a job when they get out. And we do reentry classes now where, okay, if you have problems with housing, we try to get that addressed before you get out. If you got a problem with a job or enrolling in college, we try to get that. So we're really being proactive on the front end of this thing.
Hmm.
And it's starting to pay off. We can't fix everybody, but if we can, we try.
No. Yeah, you're right.
No.
Hey, Justin, I'm curious as to you mentioned you're adding all these incredible programs and, you know, what does your staffing look like? Because you know, us in the Bureau of Prisons, we that's one of the things that we struggle with tremendously is our resources, our human
Hmm.
resources, as far as our staff, and what we need to you
Hmm.
know to make these programs work. What is that something that you struggle with as well?
Actually, we're kind of unique. We do not really have that issue per se. I will say, as far as staffing goes, I have a staff of approximately, well, I think right at 38 employees right now is what I have at my jail total. For a 108 bed facility, it kind of goes. Our physical court allots 16 full time staff, not counting me, and then the rest of them are part time staff, and that fills our entire schedule up with everything that we got. The difference, I think, the difference in that is that our county is competitively paid. Our starting salary, is almost $26 an hour starting out. My sergeants make almost 30, my captains make over 30, and my chief deputy, is making pushing almost 40. Right now I have a stack of 20 applications sitting on my desk that I cannot fill because I literally do not have the spots for them. And a lot of that has to do with, I think, how you treat employees as well.
That's good.
Hmm.
Yeah, here in Mahoning County, our uh, sheriff oversees the jail also,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
I would think that would take a lot off a sheriff's plate if he had somebody like you that was elected, and he could
Oh yeah, none of the
concentrate on being
sheriffs want it.
well. I mean, we have a great sheriff. He's brought our
Hmm.
county from the low to the high. He's been a godsend. But
Awesome.
I'm personal friends with him and deal and talk to him, and just the things that go on. I don't know how you do that balance if you had to do
It's
both.
I will have to say we're very fortunate. Our sheriff that we have now, I've known him ever since I've been in this line of work. Really about open communication, um and helping each other out. We're the only state that does this, so I'm able to devote all my time to the jail. The sheriff is able to devote all his time to his department, and so it really works out.
One of the facilities that I worked at, we had probation officers who worked within the facility. And
Hmm.
it worked out great because they helped them out with their re-entry. They used grab them 12 months before. Then they had a cycle going up to the 6 month point where then they started really checking on their programming, getting their driver's license and yada, yada. But due to staffing issues, especially coming out of COVID, it changed and they were using the parole officers off the street. Totally different type of person because they're the ones who had to fight them in the streets, fight them in the house, deal with them in the community. Now they're in the prison. And now I can see why your state decides to do that. Keep the people who capture them away from the people who hold them. I think it's
Oh,
a great idea, and I hope they don't change that personally. I hope they don't
Ye
change that.
yeah, I tell you, if you get somebody that's arrested by an officer, the officer had to use force or something like that, the person's under substance abuse, they come in, agitated, amped up, and a lot of that aggression is towards the person that arrested them, right, or the department. And so a lot of the inmates and stuff that we have inside our facility, once they're handed off to us, they'll say, "Get me away from him. You all will take care of me." And they notice the separation there, so we had an instance too here recently. Well, I say recently, showing where I'm getting older. This was like 3 years ago actually,
Do you
but
realize who you're talking to about getting
yeah,
older there? You just
yeah, I know.
okay.
I tell you, talking about all these war stories, you should see the camera's doing really good for all this gray in my beard. Just so you are aware. Uh, but 3 years ago we had and thank God everybody survived, but our sheriff's department had a shootout. That person was in a shootout with, half our entire sheriff's department, right? So, if it was in a different county, that person would have been remanded to that county sheriff's department. Just for situations like that, you can imagine, and stuff like that where you have a separation. We have to treat everybody the same. A lot of people don't realize, and that is a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. And when I'm hiring staff and we're talking with staff, I have to break that down to them, and I have to tell them that. And I always tell them this: I'd rather spend 10 minutes talking to somebody and defusing a situation than I would be flipping that taser switch on and trying to resolve it in 30 minutes and somebody can and here, but we've had to where one thing I started doing in our facility is that if somebody gets into an altercation, if an inmate gets into an altercation with another inmate, they automatically get criminally charged, whoever was the initial aggressor in the fight.
Good.
Another thing we do, they lay hands on my staff, they get a felony assault charge right off the bat.
Good.
And you bring in contraband into the facility, you're getting a felony promoting contraband, and that's one thing that has really, we went from when I took over jailer, we were having one fight probably every week, and now we have one fight every 4 to 5 months. And it is because, these people got cases going on or may have probation that they come in on probation violation are like, well, this is going to be an automatic revoke because it's a new court case. And so what I always tell people, a lot of times this little ink pen right here can do a lot more damage
Yes,
than
sir.
what people realize.
Absolutely. You're right. Correct. Hey, I'm stuck on something,
Yeah.
and it's about your structure. And I love the idea that your sheriff and your jailer are separate. I know they're intertwined, but what's your chain of command look like? Who do you answer to? I mean, who's above you?
The citizens of Nelson County. Technically, where we're a constitutional office. Really, unfortunately, unless I get arrested for a felony and convicted, then there is a process for removal through the governor that way. But unless the only way they can basically get me out of office would be at the ballot box, at that point in time. So there's a lot of accountability there as well, and that's something that I take very, whenever you're running for office, and like I say, this was the first time I've ever run for anything, and you know, it's kind of surreal. You spend a lot that whole year going up to campaigning, and and you're telling people this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm about, and to watch those votes roll in and to realize that everybody that lives in your community says, hey, this is a guy I want for this job. And they cast that ballot, say, hey, we want to hire you to do this job. It really puts kind of a little bit of weight on your shoulders because you cannot take any of your positions for granted. I got 3 kids, this is what I do to support my family. My kids depend on me at that, just like all of you all with your families and stuff. Really, at the end of the day, if you go into it with a servant's mindset versus, oh, look at me, I just won an election. And if you don't perform, they have every right to kick you to the curb and get somebody else that'll do the job that you want. And that's kind of that's my mindset approach to it.
Sounds like it's working for you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
Justin, how often do you run?
We're every 4-year term. Every 4-year term. I'm planning on, if the people will keep me, I'm planning on doing 3 terms. I think after 3 terms, you get to a point to where you're in office too long and you become the status quo type person and stuff like that. And I don't want to be that person. And so actually this next year, I'm actually up for election next November. I've already done my intent to file and everything and done all the stuff with that.
Well, it's funny you were talking about, sorry to monopolize this, but I was just on the phone with somebody that we were talking about bringing on. I worked for him years ago, and he's doing some consulting work, and he's a lot of times asked to go to county jails and look at their facilities and tell them what he feels is right or wrong. And the biggest problem that he brought up was that the sheriffs were over the county jails, and they never entered the facilities. They were never there. They delegated it down and walked away. And facilities were one day they maybe run well, and other days are not. That there was no constant supervision, and so a lot of things, complacency being one of them,
Right.
Or just a general lack of understanding of how things operate. And speaking about what you're talking about and what you're doing, I feel like our previous guest was talking about getting ahead of headlines, so to speak, and you've got that dialed in. It seems like 100% you understand it.
Right.
From the bottom to the top. I love it.
Yeah,
Love what I'm hearing.
And it's and even I said this while we're running. While we're sitting here talking, that phone could ring right next to me right now and something catastrophic happens. I mean, that's always on the back of your mind, and that's a weight that everybody that's in a supervisory role in corrections. Anytime I always say nothing good happens when your phone rings after 9 PM.
No.
Nothing.
Yep.
There's nothing
Nothing.
good that happens. And what I tell my staff is that bad stuff is going to happen. You're going to have people that are going to have a serious medical issue. You're going to have people that's going to try to commit suicide or may be successful. What makes a bad situation from becoming worse is, did we do our job up to that point? Can I defend my actions as jailer and my deputies of what we did up to that point? And that's why your supervisors are really important. If anybody's listening to this that does run a facility or a prison and stuff like that, if you have any type of, I guess you can talk about seniority type policy. If my recommendation is to throw it in the garbage. If you have somebody that actually shows up to work, they may not have the time in or whatever, but guess what? They can learn it.
Yeah, Justin, I'm gonna tell you, I just listening to you, I'm just you, you are an incredible individual, and kudos
Well,
to
I appreciate that.
all the things that you're doing and all that. It looks like you're wearing a lot of hats. Uh,
Yeah, and I got a big head too. That doesn't make them look very good. I'm telling you. Let me tell
oh,
you, if an election was based on looks, I would come in last every time. Let me tell you, that's for
that's
sure.
not true. How do you balance your home life and I mean we're that's probably one of the biggest challenges for leaders
Yeah,
is our job just it's 24/7, but we
it
have
is.
responsibilities at home. We're
Yeah.
mothers, fathers,
Mm-hmm.
daughters, what have you. We're members of our churches and our
Mm-hmm.
community, and how do you do it? How do you balance all that?
Um, the simple answer to that is, I try, but I will tell you that when I ran for office in my first year in office, my family suffered because of it. I'll be straight up with you. They suffered because of it. Took me a year to get control of this and turn the ship around. I mean, it took me a year, and that took so much time away from my kids. I still feel guilty about it. And when I was running for office, I did pull the family down. I sat down and I talked with them, and I'm like, once I decide to do this, our lives are going to change a little bit. And the first year with all the campaigning and the events, I'm not going to be as home as much as I was. And I was like, being on call 24/7 and stuff like that. So I actually had a conversation with them and I said, hey, do you all want me to do this? And I gave them an option. First person that said no, I wasn't going to do it. And they believed in me enough that I did. Now, once I finally got the people in spots that I wanted them to get them at, once I got the jail to where I wanted it to be at and stuff like that, I eventually said, I have to be a dad. I got 3 kids. I got to be a husband. I got to contribute because you know how when you get in this and you've worked in it so long, sometimes your days are so taxing that all you wanna do is sit on a couch in complete silence and nobody talk to you. You want just the TV on or the TV off, and sometimes you're so mentally exhausted that it feels like as you ran a marathon. All of us have been in that situation and stuff like that, and I will say that just like this past weekend, I made it a point. We didn't have any plans. We loaded up the camper. I loaded up my 2 little girls and me and my wife, and we went camping, and I took them to a kid-friendly camping park that we did. And so I'm really trying to catch up on the time that it has. And some weekends it doesn't happen. Like we're sitting in the camper and I got a call at 1 o'clock in the morning Saturday. So it's really hard to relax.
Well said.
Absolutely.
Well
Well
said.
said.
Yes. Yeah. It's sitting here listening to you. You should. I hope you don't. But I'm just saying, never sell yourself short because you are amazing. The way you think, it sounds to me like you have your hand on that facility,
Yeah,
and
I
you are
tried.
wise. You just the way you're thinking. I'm thinking kind of on the same lines. And every day's a struggle. Every day's a fight, but you keep going at it. You keep going at it. And
Yeah.
how,
Uh-huh.
when you got elected into that position, do you think that changed your leadership style? Or you're just the same leader that you started out as?
I would say I'm the same exact one as I was before. Honestly, if anything, my management style has changed just a tad bit, just with the cultural change and that's been a gradual thing, not just because of the election. As you get younger people into the workforce versus, I'll tell you, when I started in this line of work, I had a supervisor, get in my rear, tell me you're going to do this, or whatever happened. And you dusted off your shoulders. You said, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And you went on about your business. And you didn't take it personal.
Right.
That don't exist anymore. So I've had to adapt with the changes that have naturally came with, different generations. What this younger generation has taught me is it has taught me more patience. And I don't mean that in a negative way for anybody that's younger. It has taught me more patience. It has taught me as well the fact of listening more, because I started out in a world where you never question what your boss said. I'm in a situation now to where sometimes if I ask somebody to do something, I have to break it down of what my mind is thinking. This is how we get here, and this is the reason behind it. And 90% of the time, it makes sense to them, at times.
So you talked about this is your first time in office, that you
Yes, sir.
were, you worked for the other county, first time in office. You're looking at hopefully getting at least 2 more times to come back and do your job as the jailer.
Yes, sir.
Let's say you make it all the way to the 12-year mark. What legacy do you want to have?
My legacy is that I want, I got a couple. One is that, and I don't like using the word I. So I try to avoid using the word I in anything that involves a jail, because it's not just me. I mean, I got a staff running that place right now while we're talking. So, this is not a me show at all, but I would like to say that, that jail, that facility is better now than it was before he was there. If somebody can say that, I'm happy with it. And another thing I legacy is I want to leave behind people that said, hey, because of the programs and the stuff that the jailer did inside the jail, I now have a job. I now am with my family. I'm now with this. And I also want staff members that whenever it gets brought up, they said, well, he was kind of weird, but he was all right to work for, And so if I can hit all three of those, boom, 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 then I think that's a good enough legacy for me to leave. And then after that, I will go be a Walmart door greeter and ride off into the sunset. So it will be okay.
That's all I dreamed of. Yeah.
Yeah, that is for sure.
All right. Well, Justin, we really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule.
I appreciate you all having me. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Justin. That was
It's been
incredible.
I appreciate everything you all do, because you all get to tell stories that people never get to hear. So, hats off to you all for doing what you all do, because we all need to have voices in this job, and people need to know where their tax dollars go and and the sacrifices and everything that gets made. And podcast is a way everybody listens and communicates now. So hats off to you all for doing what you do.
Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right.
Listen to our podcast on coding.
On coding?
I think that's coding. Yeah, I think that would be great for your facility. Yes.
Well, good deal. I will definitely do that.
And then, of course, Sandra was just on a podcast a couple of days ago, so make sure you check hers out too.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. I was listening to hers last night, as a matter of fact.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
she's killing
They're going to get 4 terms out of you.
Right.
Definitely going to get 4 terms out of you.
I hope so. But let me tell you, that little clicker with the happy stickers on it at Walmart, when you're doing it every year, it just looks a whole lot nicer just to hear that click.
Awesome.
That's what we said too.
Yeah.
That's like when you're talking about being old at 40. I don't think there's anybody on here that's under 60.
That could be your
Sandra.
mother.
Hey, age is just a number.
Just Sandra.
That's right.
Sandra's the only one.
Yeah.
I think I'm older than all of you.
I don't believe that. I
No,
don't believe that a
I
second.
got you beat. I got you beat. I'm 61.
Okay, Josh.
63. What are you, Charlie?
63.
63?
Okay,
Yep.
I take that back.
youngster.
Baby. Baby.
Oh, yeah.
She's got a lot of race still in
You
her.
guys only had me by a couple years. It's not too bad. Hey, us in corrections, we age like in dog years, right? So it's
That's right.
yeah. So
You're
I
on a
mean,
whooping, man.
yeah. So I mean, that's the way
You ain't
the way it
kidding.
goes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good.
I had a full head of
Well-
hair when I started. So,
Yeah.
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 Next time y'all have me on, I want y'all just to go ahead and mark this. I'm gonna do I want y'all to go back and compare how much
You're doing a
further this goes
comparison.
back. Okay,
Yeah. Get some measurements
Absolutely.
now. Yeah.
I will.
All right.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
All righty.
All right, thank you
guys.
all.
Thank you.
Y'all have a great
All right.
day.
Nice meeting
You
you.
too, buddy.
All
All
right.
right, thank you all. Nice meeting you all.
Bye now.
Bye.
Take care.
All right, thank you.